Hello everyone, I'm Ken Thomas and this is my partner Ben Gandy.
Hey Ken.
Hey Ben. Hey, we're with Envisor Consulting and we're really excited that you're here today for this webinar. We're in the middle of a series that features our Green Dot operating system. Today we're going to focus in on one of the components, which is really how to build a powerful and effective culture through creating a solid mission and values component in your company.
That's right, Ken.
But before we get started, we want to give you a little background on the Green Dot operating system. What is Green Dot? And the way we came up with Green Dot is Ben and I have spent many years in the industry, and through our experience owning and operating successful companies and being able to look inside and under the hood of some of the finest landscape companies in the country, we've been able to develop and implement a set of best practices, a formula of success, if you will, that we've actually documented. And we call that system Green Dot. You know, Green Dot is a combination of business philosophy, systems, standard operating procedures, technology and information systems, and a set of key metrics or key performance indicators that all work together to form a solid base of organizational development in a company.
Right.
You know,
right, Ken.
The slide that we're looking at here is a graphic that really just outlines those basic building blocks of successful companies. We found that if you took the roof off of any landscape company across the country, you're going to have some fragmented pieces of all these components. But when you take the roof off of a mature organization, a market-leading company, you're going to see some solid building blocks, some maturity in each one of these components. And in doing so, it allows us to be able to take this graphic and overlay it over the companies that we work with to identify gaps in their organizational development and then put improvement plans in place to fill those gaps.
That's right. That's the way that we're able to stimulate organizational development in companies is through Green Dot, through this system, overlaying that and understanding, well, okay, what's the strategy towards maturing internally?
Yes.
Those things that need attention.
Yeah, it's kind of a code of success, if you will. And as you look at this slide across the top from left to right, the components start with mission and values, which is really what we're going to talk about today, which also forms the culture of an organization. The next building block is vision. You got to know where you're going in order to figure out how to get there. You got to build a strategy. You got to build a roadmap. Once you know where you want to go, you got to know how to build a strategy to get there. And we're going to talk about that in a future webinar. Along with strategy, you got to have a structure. You got to understand what's the org chart look like. What positions do you need? The idea of putting right person in right seat in order to actually make that strategy happen. And then over to the right, budgeting and financial acumen. You've got to be able to finance your grand plan. The way you do that is building a solid operational budget.
And Ken, you also have to develop a solid business process,
Yes.
right? And we have run into an awful lot of companies that really have not done a great job at really defining their business process. What we've come to discover and understand is that all the sales in an organization start with a lead, and it's important to understand what you do and what you don't do. It then goes to scope development or design. And from there, it goes to estimating, and we have to understand the components of estimating to do that professionally and to do it right. And then from there, it goes into sold. There's a phase where we sell work, and then it goes to work in progress, and then job closeout. And in each one of those phases, there is a responsibility for sales, for operations, for administration.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And if everybody can understand their responsibility in each one of those phases, then we can move work through the organization in an organized fashion. And we can add more and more sales and scale the company up in a way that's not chaotic. But if there's pieces of that workflow that are poorly defined, then growth just means chaos, right?
That's
and
right.
It's part of maturing an organization is to really master that workflow.
Yeah, and small organizations spend a lot of time in producing work, actually living in the field. When you're a small business owner, you wear a lot of hats and you manage a lot of pieces of the business process. But as you grow, you have to learn to be able to empower and hand off and delegate, and really that's where the confusion comes in. Without clear documented accountabilities, all of a sudden it's a whodunit kind of thing, and there's a lot of finger pointing. So documenting your business process and assigning those accountabilities is huge in helping you to leverage all of your company's resources. Continuing on down the slide, on the bottom row are really support functions. On the left bottom, we've got how do we ensure that we hit our sales goals on a year-to-year basis? We've got to have a business development plan. How do we take care of our current customers that took so long to actually win and create loyalty with? That's our account management or client relationship management functions. And we've built systems and content underneath each of those components to help train and focus our business development team and our client relationship management team.
That's right. And we also have to have operational inputs as well. We have to master and build capabilities in planning and logistics, in understanding lean principles so that we can leverage our productivity, in mastering field leadership. And finally, we got to measure it all, right?
That's
and
right.
We got to have metrics, key KPIs, key performance indicators in place to keep us on track.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So Ben, why do you think it's important to have a documented operating system?
You know, Ken, by developing this system and documenting it, I really feel like it's allowed us to have an anchor point that helps us to prioritize and to sequence the building blocks of organizational development, and to take our content and organize it into trainable units so that we can teach organizations how to get to the next level, right?
Absolutely.
In fact, you know, 98% of all the landscape companies in our industry never get past $2 million. And while an awful lot of the clients that we deal with have passed that point, many of them get stuck. And getting stuck is a symptom of organizational development issues, right?
That's right.
And having this system gives us leverage to get past those stumbling blocks and mature organizations.
That's awesome. And you know, we've worked with a lot of really smart people throughout the industry, a lot smarter than you and me.
It's a low bar,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Yeah.
And they work 24/7, but it still doesn't guarantee success if they haven't figured out the organizational components in building their businesses.
That's right.
It gets very confusing.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's dig in a little bit to our first building block, the culture of an organization, or the mission and the values. We really believe that culture is really the identity of an organization, or how an organization behaves, right? And you know, when companies start out and when they're small, the culture is really just an extension of the owner's mission and the owner's values. You know, when you start in business, your mission may be to survive.
Right.
You know, it's pretty simple. And as you grow, that mission changes, and your values are basically your personal values. But as your organization grows and you add people and the complexity of your business changes, it's imperative that you sit back down with your team and establish or reestablish a clear set of core values and the mission of your organization. You know, every organization has a culture.
Right.
Some cultures are really positive, some cultures are really negative, maybe even toxic, you know, and some cultures are just nothing. You know, the idea that we believe is your culture is your differentiator in this business. We can all provide a pretty cool product, a pretty decent product. In fact, that's where a lot of folks live today in the business world, is getting the work done. But when you really start thinking about how to build a healthy and positive culture, you begin to see how to create, how your culture can help drive exceptional customer experience and exceptional employee experience. Without a clear culture, I don't think you're going to get there.
You won't. And in fact, in competitive businesses and competitive marketplaces, culture is the differentiator. There's a lot of you know, countless other providers who can provide the exact same service that you can. So what distinguishes market leaders? And the distinguishing characteristic of market leaders is their culture. Look at other industries. Look at fast food industry. There's a fast food restaurant on every street corner in the United States, right? But there's one provider who has clearly differentiated themselves from all their competitors, and that's ChickfilA, right?
Yes.
They were founded in Atlanta, where we live. And ChickfilA has led the industry for many, many years on a number of different dimensions. starting with in-store revenues, they're 20 to 30% ahead of their nearest competitors in single-store revenues year over year over year.
And their store footprint is the same size as everybody else.
Same investment, right? Same investment as everybody else. They trump their competitors in terms of customer satisfaction and in terms of diminished employee turnover. And I don't believe, Ken, that they do it based on the quality of the food or their price. And it's good food. I'm not saying it's not, but the Arby's roast beef and cheddar is really, really good. And so it's not the sandwich. I don't think it's the price. They're competitive. They're not any cheaper than anybody else. But the experience is different.
Yes.
The culture is different.
That's right.
They keep their people. They train their people. And as a customer, the experience is different. You see the same thing at other competitive industries, convenience stores. In our area, the leading convenience store chain is a chain out of the Midwest called Quick Trip.
Yes.
And I will pass every other convenience store on the road to pull into a Quick Trip. It's just a better experience. They're cleaner and they're nicer, and it's the same product. It's not, and it's the same price.
That's right.
That's not what drives the differentiation. The culture drives the differentiation. You know, there's a ton of people that are tuned into this webinar today that passed a bunch of coffee options to go to Starbucks.
Yes.
Because of the different culture that they will experience there, right? If I got to go to a grocery store, the chain in our area that I will choose is Publix. They're not cheaper, they're not any more expensive, but their culture's different.
Right.
They're really helpful. Right.
No, it's true, and that differentiation is delivered in the hands of the people that work in those organizations. And again, culture is kind of tied to the way people think, because the way they think makes them feel a certain way, and if they feel good, they deliver a good behavior. If they don't feel good about where they're at, it's probably not as guaranteed that they're going to treat the customer as well.
It's probably not. That's right.
And we know today that the true differentiation is not in our lawn product or our services. It is in our service. It's in the way that we treat our customers and the way we treat our people. And you can't make people do that. Truett Cathy at ChickfilA and Chester Camo at Quick Trip determined many, many years ago that we are going to operate among, in these particular values. This is our value system, and this is what we believe, and we believe this will help us to provide that excellent customer experience.
They did. That's right. That's exactly right. Yep.
So when we think about the mission of an organization, the word mission, it's what we set out to do. It's why we set out to do it. It's our purpose. It's really the reason for the existence of our organization, other than just making money. Just making money. The mission is a company's why. A lot of times it's easy to get confused between vision and mission, and we'll talk about vision in a future webinar. But vision is really where we're going.
Right.
It's the target. The mission is why we do what we do, and it really drives a value system, a belief system within the organization. At Envisor, our mission is to help people, help our customers, help industry leaders to be able to envision and achieve their greatest success. That's what we live for every day. That's our why. We're fortunate to be able to deliver that through our Green Dot system and through the experience and the partners that we have throughout the industry. But it starts with our why. It's what gets us up every day and motivates us to continue to work and see people grow. Mission is not a goal. Shouldn't be confused with a goal. It's not about how much money or how much revenue you're going to generate next year. Mission is not a strategy. It's not a strategic sales plan.
Right.
It's not really a description of what we do. A mission shouldn't change. It should withstand the test of time. At Disney, their mission is to make people happy. At ChickfilA, the mission is to create a positive difference in everybody that touches that organization.
Right.
Those noble missions are ideas that your team can rally around, that give you inspiration on a day-to-day basis. Our industry is very unique in that we're blessed to be able to go out every day and provide beautiful landscaping products and create beautiful environments. The reason that we're able to do that is because it makes people feel good. That's why they buy landscaping. If it didn't make people feel good, if it didn't provide value, they wouldn't buy it. So we're very blessed to be able to have a mission of making people feel good in our industry.
That's right.
The other thing about mission, it's an idea that's never really achieved fully in any organization. You never completely fulfill your mission. With us, we have, I think, enriched a lot of landscape companies' lives, but we still have a lot more to do. We continue to want to see our companies reach their full potential.
Exactly. Yes.
Core values are the second piece of culture. Mm-hmm. We have mission, we have core values, or guiding principles. The guiding principles, when we think about an organization, are kind of the character of the organization. We think of character and people. And when we define character and people, what are some of the words that surround that?
You think about integrity or empathy or humility or competitiveness. Things like that represent character, I think.
That's right. And within an organization, there are words and phrases that also represent ideal character or ideal value systems within an organization. We've spent a lot of time over the years working with companies, helping them to understand or to define their core values or redefine their core values. And some of the exercises that we have done, we'll ask a group of people to tell us how they want to be described, how they want their company to be described. And they're typically very positive terms. And sometimes they can come up with a list 20 values long. But it's very hard to remember 20 core values.
It is.
So the key is to narrow down your core value ideals to 3 to 5. They need to be simple, they need to be believable, and they need to be something that is easy to remember and to implement on a day-to-day basis.
So we've been blessed to work with the Juniper organization in Florida for a number of years. They're over $100 million. They are a market-leading company in most of the markets that they work in.
That's awesome.
Fantastic organization led by Brandon Duke. And we are fortunate to have Brandon with us in the studio today. Brandon, welcome.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Yep, appreciate it.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. Brandon, you did an outstanding job developing a set of value statements for your organization and have used those in a purpose statement. And we just wanted to get you with us today in the studio just to talk about that a little bit, about maybe the genesis of that statement and a little bit of commentary on it would be great.
Yeah, thank you. No problem. I think as the business has developed and as I've developed as a leader, you really understand how important it is to cast a compelling vision for the future of your business and for your people. And, it's also extremely important to be very true to that. And so as kind of the idea evolved, and a lot of the genesis of it is from the book Traction and the EOS process that I know you guys are familiar with. But after reading the book Traction, where they talk a lot about the vision of the company, setting big goals out 10 years and then 3 and then 1, and having clear core values and a clear mission statement for your business, we really committed to the process. I think it was in about 2017, and we hired a consultant to help us with that, to launch specifically the EOS process. And it's really been game changing for us.
Well, I'd love the specifically the value statement that Juniper espouses to have a sense of urgency, to be consistent communicators, mission over ego. I love that. Do what we say, be relentless, grow and adapt. I love the actionability of those values.
Right. Yes. So those are the 6 core values that Juniper subscribes to. And then when you talk about our mission statement, it's really a 3-part statement, and it covers clients, employees, and competition. And it's simply this: Juniper's purpose is to have raving clients as fans, to develop our people, and to dominate our competition. And so, those 3 things are right. It's quality and customer service to keep clients happy and turn them into raving fans that are telling the world about you. Number 2, which really is number 1, is developing our people. We always say that where you come in at Juniper is not where you end. We want to be a vibrant organization where people are growing, where we're developing them, where we're investing in them, and where there's a bright future. And then, the third thing is we want to be the company that is going to dominate the competition. Really what that means is that we just want to be the best. We want to be the very best we can be. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's no secret to it. It's just like the greatest teams and athletes. You know the play, right? You know what they're going to do, but it doesn't mean you can stop it. We're gonna run the play, and we're gonna beat our competition just through hard work and through all the programs and things that we've put together. And so, that's kind of our mantra. That's what we say. But the biggest thing when it comes to core values, when it comes to mission statements and all these things is, you can hire consultants and you can have this great plan, but if you're not going to be true to it, if it doesn't mean something to you, or if you go against those values that you've put out there, then it's really counterproductive for your organization. So, you put those statements out there, you talk about them all the time, and it catches on, and it's very, very helpful. But you've got to be true to it.
Absolutely, and I know that you are in that organization. It helps drive and inform that culture. It helps make that culture different from your competitors. I think it's powerful, and the fact that it's repeated, it's used. I've heard it in your organization. It makes it meaningful.
Yeah, and what we did, which was a very arduous process, to be honest with you, was it actually took probably. It may have taken 2 years to fully implement. And what we did was we sat down with consultants, guys like yourself, and we said, we put our executive team in a room and we said, what is it that makes the best employees on your team successful? And you really boil it down to these set of values that if you can do these things, if you can be successful like this, if you could get, one of the questions is if you had, pick one of your best employees, and if you had 100 of them, what could you accomplish, right? And then you boil it down to what are the attributes that are making them successful and that are making the best people in your organization successful. And that's what we boiled down into our core values, those 6 core values that you mentioned. And when you follow that and you hire on it, you fire on it, you promote on it, it becomes an extremely powerful tool. And, as an example, one of the companies, not our core value, but one of the companies that we studied, one of their core values was no jerks, right? Life's too short to work with jerks. So we're going to have a standard as a company of no jerks. Well, you may have to make some really hard choices if you put that stand out there, right? Your most talented guy, he might be a jerk, but your culture will erode if you don't honor those core values. So you may have to make some hard decisions. You may have to part ways with people that don't fit within that culture, fit within that value system. But man, once you start carving down a team that all subscribes to that, and then you make it a prerequisite for hiring when you bring people in, it's a very, very powerful thing.
That's awesome. Hey, very well said.
Hey, Brandon, this sounds fantastic. It sounds like you're really doing a great job. How do you make it real every day out to the front lines? I mean, what is your methodology, to push that belief system out as far as you can?
Well, again, I think the number one thing is it can't be hokey. It can't be, stuff that people really can't get behind. That's why when you look at our core values, things like mission over ego, things like constant communicator, relentless, grow and adapt. I mean, these are not your typical honesty, quality. Those things are prerequisites for working at any organization, right? That cares. I mean, if you're a dishonest person, nobody wants you on your team, right? So we felt like those are the ground floor, and we want to build specifics about our organization above that, right? And so you have to be authentic about it. You as a leadership team have to honor it. And when you do that, then it can spread through the organization. And the other thing you have to do is it can't be a once a year thing. You talk about it. You've got to talk about it on a regular basis. You have to hire on it, you have to fire on it, you have to evaluate people. So in our annual reviews, we use the EOS review system, which you get rated on the core values. So that's another aspect of it is, we build it into the systems, and then, we do a weekly L10 throughout the organization, which is a specific meeting with a specific agenda every week and certain KPIs. And we've actually adjusted it from the traditional EOS a bit to throw in core values, because we want people discussing them on a weekly basis. So, and we've got some teams that are doing it better than others, and some groups that are, more bought in than others. But, consistency, making it important, not making it fluff, are all really important aspects.
That's great.
It's awesome. That's good stuff. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. That's powerful. Really appreciate working with you and appreciate hearing your perspective on that. I think it's going to mean a lot to people. Thank you.
Yeah. And if I could just say one other thing as it relates to, employees and culture and all that. I mean, all of us leaders are in a talent war, and it's our jobs to cast a compelling vision for the future of our organization. So getting your core values and getting your mission statement really, solidified will allow you to give that vision to employees that they can get behind, because there are a lot of options. But, if you can be a growing, vibrant organization that knows your core values, you can really succeed with employees, for sure.
That's awesome. That's perfect. Fantastic. Great way to close it out.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate the opportunity. And I talked a little bit about the EOS consultants, but Ben and his team have really helped us a ton. We're thankful to have the Envisor guys as part of the Juniper team.
Brandon, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for the commentary. Really, really great. It's good to have Brandon with us.
Awesome. Brandon is such a great example of a leader, number one, but understanding the value of culture and understanding what it takes to really put together a strong mission statement and a set of core values that inspire and drive behaviors. We see a lot of companies out there that go through the process of developing a mission and developing a set of core values, but a lot of times they just kind of die on the vine. So we want to talk a little bit about how do you make it real? How do you make it live within your organization, this behavioral basis, this value system? And Brandon did a great job of saying that the very best way and the very first way is for leadership to model the behaviors that they developed, the values they developed. We've seen too many times, a certain amount of hypocrisy at the top just kills, the idea that these values really mean anything to the organization, and they don't go anywhere. So not only do you have to model it, you have to make decisions based on those values. A lot of times core values impact people, and the decisions that are made around people, whether it's your customers, your vendors, or your employees, should tie back to that value system, and that should be the lens or the filter that you're using as you try to make decisions, sometimes difficult decisions. Brandon even mentioned, sometimes, if the people in your organization don't align with the value system, they may not be the right people anymore.
No jerks. That's right.
No jerks.
Yeah.
That was pretty interesting. So there's a whole process of communicating those new values and that mission statement within the organization. We've known folks that hang plaques on the wall. I knew a group that we worked with in Columbus, Ohio, that had a coin that was actually had the values around the edge, and they used it for tenure in the company as well. And a few guys could pull it out of their pocket right then and say, here's mine. Yeah. So communication is big, and keeping that message out in front of the team. Obviously, we need to incentivize good behavior, disincentivize bad behavior. Again, all that evolves around our belief system and our value system. And we need to celebrate positive culture. As we've said over and over, it's culture that differentiates, but it's really people. Yeah. And if people believe in what they're doing and they believe in the organization, they're going to deliver that exceptional service, and they're going to respect the folks on the team with them. Yeah. And it's going to be powerful.
And when we catch people living out the culture that we espouse, that's what we celebrate, that's what we incentivize.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right. There's an organization that we've had the privilege of working with on the North Shore of Boston.
Yeah.
The Indy organization, that actually they've got a clear and succinct value statement. They're committed to professional integrity. They are passionate about continuous improvement. They're dedicated to win-win relationships and excellence. They're very systems driven. And they're a company that operates with a sense of urgency, and they require their team members to sign off on those values, and they're all framed and they're all posted on the wall. Once you sign a commitment, right?
Yeah.
You got to be in.
That's right. That's right. It does kind of ink the deal, so to speak, when you have that signature, that commitment.
That's right.
So kind of summarizing the idea of bringing our values and our mission to life, a few key things. You want to hire people who believe what we believe. If we don't know what we believe, then how can we hire other people that believe what we believe? Right. So clearly articulating that belief system, that value system, leading by example, as Brandon said. There's no better way to make mission stick or values stick. Filtering key decisions around your value system and your core beliefs. Correcting non-aligning behavior we've mentioned before. Typically in our past experience, when the culture is strong and it's positive, the culture tends to bring people in, it tends to retain good people, and it tends to kick people out that don't belong there. It's just kind of it just happens.
Yeah, that's right.
Like one of these things is not like the other, and they go away.
Right.
So, and finally, rewarding good behavior. In Brandon's company, the core values were tied to the year-end evaluation system, which made a big impact on how people behaved.
That's right. That's right.
So
driving that culture through your mission, your purpose, and your value statement, an actual critical piece of organizational development.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you all for joining us today. It was just a pleasure to have everybody on. We will be following up with the next webinar series. What are we covering next time, Ken?
So our next webinar will be focused on the component of vision casting, or developing a compelling vision for your organization. You won't want to miss it. It goes right hand in hand with culture, mission, and values. That'll be coming up soon. Stay tuned and follow us on social media and check your inboxes, and we'll tell you when that webinar will be coming up.
Look forward to seeing you then. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.